Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Sales Matchmaker podcast. I am your host, Janet Clark, also known as the Sales Matchmaker. So last week, I promised that I was going to dedicate this week's episode to talking about the importance of choosing a niche, really narrowing down that niche, and literally dominating your niche as a coach or a consultant. So it's going to be a little bit easy for me today because I'm going to share with you and read a post that was written by my business partner, Tobin Slavin, which he posted on LinkedIn. Now, he got a lot of response and comments from some high-level coaches and consultants, some that follow him, some that are our clients, in regards to this post. So rather than me just trying to say my thoughts about all of this, I'm going to actually read what Tobin wrote, and then I'm going to read some of the comments that came through, and then I'll share my commentary on that as well. So at the end, we'll talk a little bit about, okay, if we've established that it's important to define your niche and narrow your niche, exactly how you do that. So let's jump into this. So here was how the post went. This is what Tobin wrote. A drowning person will take a lifeguard down with them. That is how strong the panic instinct is when we feel we are going under. We will reach for and scramble over anything or anyone. The same thing happens in business. Look at any sales and marketing training, and the first thing you are going to see is a focus on getting 100% clear on who you serve, your avatar. This is also called niching down. It means to become super relevant to a specific pocket of people so you know and they know that you are for them. It is like being a lighthouse on a dark, foggy night. Your foghorn and your strobe light call wayward ships into safe harbor, even those who are outside your niche, because the minute you become super relevant to one niche, you suddenly become visible to all others as well. But try telling that to a business owner who has lived with scarcity for too long. They are like a drowning man. They will take anyone with a heartbeat and a wallet. The idea of cutting away those who aren't a fit feels ludicrous to our lizard brain when it's in survival mode. The only thing a lifeguard can do is to throw a lifeline or a flotation device. In business, that means showing them a way to find loads of highly qualified leads and then what to say and how to speak to them to spark a conversation, not a sales pitch. Have you ever felt this way? Now, a lot was covered in here, right? But we're going to talk about some of the responses and then we can go into the points. So based on the number of comments that he got on this post, it definitely resonated with coaches and consultants. And I'm guessing that it probably is resonating with you too. Now, I'm going to share a sampling of these responses and I'm going to tell you and share with you my thoughts on them. So the first response said, I'm guilty of this myself all the time, even as I advise my own clients against running down this same path. Now, I have to say LOL to that, right? I mean, we all have been there. That's why we all need a coach, because it's super easy for us to know intuitively the right thing to do, to preach the right thing to do, but sometimes it's really hard to do it ourselves. So I resonated with that, and I'm sure you did too. Now, another response said, you had me at lizard brain. Great post here. And isn't it strange how terrifying it is when we realize we can't really be all things to all people? I think it's interesting to note that when we do man overboard drills on board, it's important to throw out only one marker right away to save the victim. If everyone on board threw out a marker and the captain wouldn't know where to circle back. If you don't throw out one immediately, then it will be impossible to find that person in the water. One, only one. Now, I actually love this person's analogy because it makes so much sense to me. So can you imagine that you're drowning in the water and there's 100 people on board and all of these people are throwing out a life raft to you? Now, number one, the one person who's responsible for coming to get you isn't going to be able to find you, right? Because now there's all these markers out in the water. But there's also the other side of it that if you're the drowning person, you don't have any idea. Like, who's the one? Like, how do we know? So it reminds me really, this comment reminds me of that book, The One Thing. If you haven't read it, it's a great book by Gary Keller, and it's perfect for this topic as well. So, okay, let's move on a little bit. The next person said, I love how you explain it. I know I went through this and I learned the hard way. If you try and help everyone, you'll help no one. I think it really comes down to knowing yourself, who you can impact the most, and also what you truly enjoy. Now, what I love about this comment is the part where this person makes the point about doing what you truly enjoy. Because isn't that why you started your business in the first place? We all did. We all knew in our hearts that there was something that we really were good at, that we really wanted to do. And we knew that if we were serving the right person with our talent and our skill, we could make a huge impact. But very often as coaches, we get off the track, and that happens really fast, right? And I know it happened to me. I did it myself. And truly, when I created the first iteration of my business, The Freedom Shift, it turned out to be the job from hell, right? So I had created something. I had a whole bunch of clients. I was offering all kinds of services that really weren't in my ballywick, right? They weren't my claim to fame. And unfortunately, though I could help them with that, I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't fun for me. And frankly, I don't think they were getting the results that they should have gotten because my heart and soul were not in it. So it's important for you to step back, take a look at your business, make sure you're not creating the job from hell for yourself. And are you too broad? Are you trying to do too many things? Are you promising people things that you really know you could do, but you don't really want to do? So, what kind of pain do coaches experience when they don't niche down? So let me talk a little bit about some of the other comments that came through, because I think these kind of zero in a little bit on the pain. So one person said, great analogy, Tobin. There have been times in my business that I've taken on less than ideal clients, and it's always been painful. This is a great reminder. And then another person said, I found that keeping the wrong customers or clients is painful for both parties. Yes, it's hard to let go and move on, but it's the best for everyone involved. I always saw that if I could be better, or if somebody could be better served by another coach, that it would be more in line with my values to let them go. Now, this is something that is hard for all of us, because as we're building our business, our primary focus is on generating revenue. So when somebody comes into our world and that person is willing to give us money, we feel attracted to that, right? So we're really attracted to, we're trying to build a business, we need the money. This happens to everybody. But I have a sense that if you're listening to this right now, you're at a point in your business where you're recognizing that that is not going to serve you well, particularly if you want to scale your business and you want to bring on a salesperson to help you to grow your business. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later when I finish reading some of these other comments. Somebody else said, I have the experience of almost drowning 7 times in my life, and you are absolutely right, spot on. Okay, well, I'm not really sure if this person is referring to physically actually drowning in water or if they've had this experience of feeling like they were drowning in their business. But either way, it's a bad feeling, right? So Tobin hit a nerve there with this person, and this person shared this. Another comment was, I talk a lot about that clutching, grabby feeling that people get when they're desperate for clients. Even after they have a decent revenue flow, some entrepreneurs stay stuck in that energy. When I tell them it's time to relax and release it, it seems crazy, but as soon as they do it, they actually become more attractive. So, this is the point of where what I was just trying to make in that last comment that I was saying to you is that if you are at that point where you're starting to realize that you could be doing better, you could be serving at a higher level, you have an idea of who your ideal client is, and maybe it's only 20 or 30% of the people you're working with, the hardest decision you might have to make is letting go of some of those clients, but doing that ultimately is going to serve you and your clients at a much higher level. Okay, so think about it this way. Ask yourself, if you had to find somebody, you were having a heart issue, and you needed to find somebody to do heart surgery, would you go to a general practitioner or would you seek out an expert heart surgeon? Or even something less dramatic to think about. And I read this somewhere. I don't know if I was online or it was an article I read, but somebody wrote something and that kind of struck me. And they said, say there was a dispute over your product name and there was going to be a possible trademark infringement litigation. And say that at the same time, as luck would have it, you were going through the process of a divorce and you needed to hire an attorney to help you with that. Would you go to the same person? Probably not. Chances are that you would look for the best intellectual property attorney to help you with your business, and you would go to the best divorce attorney to help you to extricate yourself from the marriage. And does it even make sense to you that you would find one attorney that would actually specialize in both of those things? In fact, if someone told you that they had a lot of experience in both of those matters, would that really make you feel comfortable? Or would you question why that person was working in both of those areas and whether they could potentially or possibly be an expert in either one? So what happens, it's kind of the same thing, right? When you're doing coaching or consulting. But when you choose a niche, you become a player. You become an expert and your brand becomes recognized. Now, when I started, I was just another coach helping entrepreneurs with their sales. That was super broad. So some of these entrepreneurs were coaches in selling relationship programs, and some of them were coaches selling weight loss programs, and some of them were selling accounting services, and some of them were doing other aspects of business. Some of them were people who were consultants working with corporate. I had clients all over the map. And I was helping them with their sales, which was great in the sense that I knew a lot about selling, but I wasn't clear. I mean, yes, I can help anybody with sales. That's great, but that's very broad. It wasn't until I became the sales matchmaker for high-level coaches and consultants whose prospects were on LinkedIn that I was able to really differentiate myself from anybody else out there who could help them with their sales. So it doesn't take away from the fact that I can help people with their selling, right, through the heart flow sales process, which is pretty universal, as long as you're selling a transformational program to somebody. But the point being that niching down to becoming a sales matchmaker for people who have their prospect base on LinkedIn and who want to start up a new steady stream of prospecting and lead flow from LinkedIn, that now is a differentiator. So it puts me in my own category, and that would be referred to as the blue ocean. So in other words, there's really not a lot of other people out there that are matching coaches and consultants with salespeople and can help them with their sales and can help them with the prospecting. So that puts me into a category where I'm just kind of out there as an expert in my niche. Now, the red ocean, when we talk about being in a red ocean, that's it being in the ocean with all the other sales coaches that are out there, people who are doing sales training, people who are doing coaching, people who are trying to manage sales teams. So there's all these different aspects, but that's not where I shine. And so you have to come to this realization for yourself. So how do you define your niche? Well, it really comes down to understanding who you serve, what transformation you offer, and why you are the best at what you do. You know, I say to Tobin all the time, it's hard to find really good salespeople. It's hard for everybody in our industry who is a high ticket sales coach or consultant to really be able to hire, train, onboard, and maintain a great salesperson. And particularly a salesperson that will do the prospecting, the relationship building, and represent your brand at a high level, high integrity way. And so I say, if we crack the code, which we are doing very well, by the way, but it hasn't been easy. It's difficult to do. So the point being that when you find that thing that you can do, that's a need in the marketplace, that you know that you do better than anybody else, even if it's hard to do, but you are the expert at it. You're the one who has been through the trenches. You know all of the pitfalls and all of the difficulty in getting this accomplished, whatever it is that you do. Then you become attractive to people. Then you start getting referrals. You start attracting new people to you. Your name becomes a household name. Your brand becomes well known. So that is why it is so important to have a niche and to get really clear on what that is. So let me remind you that you went into business because there is something that you love to do and you're really good at. Serving your clients should be really easy and natural. But when you're trying to do something that's outside of your sweet spot, it's going to make you feel stressed out and you're not going to get the results that you want and that you deserve. So the great news is that once you have dominated a market or a niche, there's going to be other areas that you can expand into. Now, one of the things I hear a lot of coaches telling me is that they don't want to cut off other sources of business. And that's fine, but you have to do it one by one. You have to pick one. I like to use the expression, pick your horse and ride it. And I use that in different ways, but it really fits here in the niche. Like, what is the thing that you could do and really make an impact by focusing in on just that narrow area? And once you've dominated that market, it wouldn't make any sense for you to waste any more time just taking on things where you can't make a big impact, where you become just a drop in the bucket. So what happens when you do have that niche is that every case study, every testimonial, every reference, every bit of industry recognition that you get makes you even more and more prominent in that niche. Your social proof mounts until you are recognized by everyone as being a leader in your space. And in a world full of generalists, which really is what most coaches and consultants are, you are a specialist. And that will totally be a game changer for your business. Now, it starts, how do you start it? How do you get into a niche? Well, it truly does start with outbound marketing. And that outbound marketing is having conversations with people and getting to the point where they recognize where your sweet spot is. What is the thing that you can really do that is a problem that they have that you can help them solve? And as you begin to have these conversations with people and your messaging is crystal clear and you know exactly who you can help, who that target client is, that will start to snowball to the point that you are going to start seeing your outbound marketing turn into inbound attraction marketing. Because now your clients and your networking partners and people from your masterminds and other coaches are going to start recognizing that you are the expert, and they're going to start giving you referrals. And when that starts to happen, you dominate and your competitors can't catch up with you. But it takes some work on your part to do it, which is really what we figured out. And we are doing the work, and we've done the work to get ourselves positioned as experts in this sales matching aspect of things and this conversational prospecting approach that goes along with our matching. And so now it's starting to create a momentum, and we're starting to have people reaching out to us because they've tried other sales coaches and other teams and all of that, and it hasn't worked. So, personally, my business has never flowed as easily as it does now that I've found the niche. And the more I focus on my niche, the more clarity I get on exactly what my clients need, who they are, and how I can help them I get very clear on my process. And all of this is what you should be doing. So I can help you. I'm always open, even if you just want to chat about this, if you just want to run ideas by me, if you just want to get my help, whatever, just reach out. Janet@thefreedomshift.com. I'm always loving it when I hear from people who listen to my podcast. And podcasting is fun because you don't know who's out there listening, but then you start getting these comments and it's like, wow, I can't believe that. So that's fun. But I'm here to share. I'm here to help. And you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. I respond, whatever. Just reach out. And so a little sneak preview about next week. Next week, we're going to be expanding on this concept a little bit. And I'm going to be talking about how in this outreach that I was talking about, this outbound marketing, how you can use that to build the KLT, which is the know, like, trust factor. And, most people think that it has to be really expensive marketing in order to create that relationship with people. And you can do it that way. I mean, you can spend a lot of money on ads. You can hire a whole team. You can have, a huge marketing budget and system going on, which is fine if you're already making millions of dollars in your business. But if you're at the point where you're in the six figures and you're ready to leap up to seven figures, then you probably don't want to have a huge marketing budget. You don't want expensive ads, and you don't want to have big teams of people. So there is a way that we're going to talk about next week of how to do this, cultivate this KLT, know, like, trust, through a method we call tapping. And I'll share more about that next week. So until then, happy selling and bye for now. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Sales Matchmaker podcast. To hear more episodes, visit us at www.thesalesmatchmaker.com.